Hey, writers, and welcome back to the 1 Minute Writing Tip podcast. I am so excited for the author guest I have with us today. I'm talking to Mindy Scarlett. Mindy has north of 30 years experience as a marketing professional, branding expert, and ghostwriter. She has a recent transplant from New Jersey to Florida and is creating many new and exciting writing services to launch in 2023, which is so exciting. She helps business owners become best-selling authors as a way to promote their business. Mindy, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
So will you just get us started off by sharing a little bit more detail about that wealth of experience and how you got into marketing and ghostwriting for where you are today?
Well, marketing has played some role in absolutely everything I've done throughout my professional life. And I actually started the first 10 years of my professional life in Melbourne, Australia. I married my writing professor and emigrated there sight unseen at the grand old age of 19. So that was sort of my nonprofit and corporate experience, was the first 10 years. Fast forward 10 years when the husband decides to go off and play house with somebody else. And so I packed up 4 suitcases and came back to the US at the age of 30 and started over in every sense of the word. And marketing was really my passion, marketing and writing both. So I wrote for a lot of publications, wrote for various magazines, was editor of a magazine, but then really found that I was not suited to work for corporate in the US. Australia spoiled me. Their working conditions are just too good. And to be back here where, fire at will and, work 80 hours, get paid for 40, that kind of thing was just not my thing. And so back in the late 90s, I decided to strike out on my own, and I haven't looked back since. And I ended up in New Jersey, remarried. I have a 22-year-old daughter that's about ready to graduate from University of Florida State. And so I decided, you know what, I need to create my own thing. And so I created my own marketing agency, and I catered to small business because I have a heart for small business. And I did all of my networking in person. And back in 2015, I was introduced to the concept of being able to make people Amazon bestselling authors. Now, I've done a lot of content writing, done a lot of ghostwriting, but this was a game changer because now I could write for or help someone write a book, knowing I could make it a bestseller. Because once you know the secret, once you know the SEO secrets of Amazon, you can say, yes, we can do this. And the credibility that brings to be able to say, I'm a best-selling author, and you're a coach or a consultant or a thought leader or a speaker, you almost have to have a book to have any kind of credibility. So it was like, great, I have all this marketing experience, all this branding experience, I can roll it up with this so that I make sure the person writes the book they should be writing to truly showcase their brand, not just writing any old book from a journalism point of view. So that's how I then kind of brought all those together, because I ended up trying to restart my marketing agency in Florida in the middle of lockdown. And when you can't go to networking events and you do all of your stuff in person, makes it a little difficult to keep the doors open.
Yep.
So that was just an opportunity last year to niche down, recreate, met most amazing business partner. And now we are launching Center of Influence Publishing. And this is all about helping people who are centers of influence become best-selling authors.
Wow, what an amazing journey. And I love how when life kind of threw you lemons and curveballs that you didn't expect, you were able to pivot and just shift to the next thing. And I'm sure that it sounds a lot more smooth in your story than how it actually was in the life experience, right?
Oh yeah, it was a little rough at the time, let me tell you. When you've told the story a few times, it sounds pretty smooth, but you are absolutely 100% correct. There were a lot of bumps on those roads. But by the same token, I wouldn't trade them, because this is how I learned. This is how I opened doors to new opportunities. If it hadn't have been COVID, I would have just come back down to Florida, gone out networking, restarted my marketing business. But that firmly closed door made me look elsewhere.
Right.
And then I was able to identify other market forces and other trends. And so now we're with this new publishing company. We are going to be, one of our major focuses is going to be on anthologies. Because, okay, now I have to be careful here. When I feel strongly about something, I tend to speak strongly, and I need to be a little diplomatic with about what I'm about to say. The challenge is, anthologies are a trend. It's a good trend. It's a great way for somebody just getting started out as a coach or a consultant to get into the authorship stakes without having to pay full price of being able to create an entire book on their own. So all of that's good. But the challenge comes when they stuff 30, 40, 50 authors into an anthology. I'm sorry, just from a communication point of view, you get lost in the sauce. Then from a publishing point of view, Amazon only hooks up 10 names associated with a book. Mm-hmm. So I have a colleague of mine who was in one such anthology, all excited about it. But if you Google her, she doesn't show up because she's one of 50 authors. So, you can't hook 50 authors to a book on Amazon. So even though she's in it, and even though it's a bestseller, it's almost impossible for her to get herself associated with it online to gain any sort of SEO credibility or, any kind of notability. And everybody's like, oh, but, it was so inexpensive to get in it. Well, I'm sorry, but you get what you pay for. And so we have put something together where we're emphasizing the value, not the price. And we're saying to them, okay, we're curating you with 9 other authors in a book where all of you are going to show up as best-selling authors. Okay, that's the value that these anthologies will bring. We're giving you 25 printed copies. Most anthologies don't. You have to buy them extra. We're giving everybody a DIY marketing package. So they have their own little video sizzle reel and their own graphics to post on social media. But we're also setting appropriate expectations. Because while becoming a best-selling author is something that can be really good for your business, it's just creating a tool. It's not a magic wand. And the story I like to tell is, it's like going to Home Depot and you spend a lot of money on a really fancy hammer. And you bring it home and you put it in your toolbox and you close the lid, and then you sit back and you complain that hammer isn't doing anything for you. Well, you got to take it out and you have to actually figure out how to use it before it starts working for you. And it's the same thing with a best-selling book. You're creating a unique marketing tool, and yes, it can be quite magical and it can transform parts of your business. But if it stays in the tool case with the lid shut, it's not going to do anything for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you nailed some really great points. I mean, number one, it needs to be intentional, purposeful. It can't just be, a ton of authors in one book. I agree with you there because, you have to be able to leverage it and use it in the right way. And I always tell people that, a best-selling book is amazing. And it is this, but it's just a gateway. It's right. It's the gateway that opens up the door of opportunity into this whole other world of possibility. And you have to actually step through that and start exploring that new world once you step into it. You don't just step into it and then, it's just you're magically arrived at the next destination. You have to actually go, through the next thing. And so, absolutely what you said. And those are definitely some great points. So I can tell that you're very excited about this and that it's just something that you're really looking forward to. And it sounds like something that's definitely going to really bring so much benefit to the lives of those who you publish and who are able to become part of the anthology. So let's take a little step back, right? So for people that are listening and they're thinking, okay, that sounds amazing. I would love to have that goal in mind, but I'm still figuring out what I should even write. What would you say to them if they're thinking, I don't even know what I would even write?
Well, the first session that I ever do with an author, regardless of whether I'm doing, ghostwriting their book, coaching them through writing, or they're coming to a workshop, everybody starts at the same place. Who are you? What's your business? What's your brand? What are you an expert in? What do you want to shine a light on? And one step further, what's your end game? What do you want this book to do for you? And that answer is different for every person. So if you're a speaker, then you want that book to bolster your credibility and you want to be able to sell it in the back of the room when you're out speaking. If you're a coach and you are thinking of developing some courses, well, then the book that you should write should then be in the direction of whatever courses you want to develop. We need to know that when we're writing it so that we leave the left-hand door open to click a workbook in. You got to make sure that you've painted the overall vista so you know where the book fits into it and how it's going to then progress. So you're not writing it in isolation. And I have actually delayed working with authors if I shine a light on their brand and it's all murky and meddlesome and it's not clear. I'll then say to them, why would you spend the time, money, and effort to write a book to shine a light on this mess? I'm usually a little more diplomatic than that, but the point being, if they don't have clarity of who they are and what they're trying to do and what their brand is, then why on earth would you write a book? And I had one such client back in July. He was ready to sign a $30,000 ghostwriting deal with me. And when I told him, I said, Zach, I love you. I love the fact that you have that much faith in me. But I said, this is not what you need to be doing right now. You're a startup nonprofit. You need a business plan. You need a website. There's so many other things that you need. And so for the last 4 months, I've been helping him get those things. Mm. And then when we came back to the discussion of the book, I had the whole concept of the anthology had been fully baked and fully ran out. And I'm like, why don't we have a different discussion? Instead of you having to go out and raise $30,000 to pay me to write the book for you, why don't you just introduce me to 9 of your supporters that want to come and say why your nonprofit's needed and, what problem it's going to fix? Then each one of them contributes. You don't have to put your hand in your pocket, and you then have a vehicle to get your message out there. And you've involved your various supporters and constituents in doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's such a good point, is that there's different ways to approach the process, and you want to make sure that you're in the right place before you just dive right in. Because I think a lot of people do that. They kind of fly by the seat of their pants. They have this idea and they kind of just go for it. And I think that just taking a step back and really evaluating where you're going and what you want to accomplish with it, and what the book is going to do for you is so key, because it's like one of the foundational pillars that helps you then guide your way through the content and knowing what you want to say in the book and the way you want to say it and the way you want to connect with your reader and where you're taking them to, right? Because the book is a vehicle. It's not just the book itself. It's taking the reader on a journey somewhere. And so you need to know where you're taking the reader and how they're getting there. So I love what you shared there. So especially since you're mentioning that you're launching this publishing house and you're going to be specifically focusing on, anthologies and helping your clients to become best-selling authors, what is that difference between someone just, say, publishing their book and then specifically, say, working with you and your team and getting that insight to become a bestseller? What difference does that really make for them as well, with their book?
It's a game changer. Because as soon as you hear somebody say that they're a best-selling author, your opinion of them goes and goes straight up. Now, just an author, okay, that's helpful. You do have a book, but the bestseller tag is golden. That is something that you can utilize in business, and especially, people who say that they're a 5 times bestseller, even more credibility, because they've obviously stayed the course. Because this is the thing. Think about it. If you're a professor at a university, one of the ways to tenure is to publish. But you can't just publish a white paper or publish a book once. You got to continue to publish. And it's the same way in this world. When you're publishing a book to shine a light on your business, you can't be one and done. You've got to continue to have something new and relevant to say. You have to be growing. You have to be moving. You have to be presenting new content. And so you really do have to have a long-term publishing plan, because you can't do the one and done. That it doesn't work like that. And so while we like I said, we work with everyone from, totally ghostwriting it all the way through to anthology. And we offer a bunch of different packages because we're trying to make it possible for everyone, regardless of their budget, to get to that goalpost of being a best-selling author. So we'll get creative about how we can help them do that. But it's only the first step on the ladder. So you want to continue to look for who can you collaborate with? What other big messages do you have that you need to give to the world? And you need to do a publishing plan. So you need to have like a 5-year publishing plan. So that you can work it into the budget, but more importantly, work it into your branding and work it into your marketing plan. And because if things are written in isolation, they have very limited value. You got to know where you're going to plug them into your business and what you want the end result to be. Do you want it to be book sales through the roof and that's all you care about? Or is it you want to have the book drive people to a course that you're creating for the future? Or do you want your book to give you the credibility so that you get bigger and bigger requests for speaking and you get on bigger and bigger stages? So the clarity of concept and where you want your business to end up needs to be clearly outlined, and then everything you do in terms of best-selling books needs to be aimed at that. And I can't emphasize that enough, because if you're just doing a vanity project to have a book with your name on it, do not waste your time and money.
Yeah, absolutely. And that really digs into just more of what you said earlier about knowing that long-term goal and really letting that be kind of the thing that creates your entire roadmap and your guideline to get there. And I agree. I think that it's important to know, how is your book going to plug into your business, and then getting someone that can help you really answer those questions. For my listeners like Mindy, who obviously has the expertise and she knows the marketing side, and she can really help you understand that to a much deeper level and really help you map that out with clarity so that it's not just the book and it's going to be published and you're kind of like, okay, what next? What next? The next steps that you need to take in order to continue to utilize the book as a tool for your business. So I love what you shared there about, making sure that it's connected and plugged in. So I want to ask you, since you're mentioning, you have to keep publishing and keep putting out new content and keep being relevant as an author. What about you? Do you have any upcoming works that you're personally working on or that you're working on with a team that you want to talk about?
Oh, yes. What I'm very excited about. We have our first 3 anthologies are in the works already. And the first one is How to Break the Glass Ceiling and Still Keep It Nice. And these are words of wisdom from elder statesmen, lady executives to their younger counterparts. And so there's going to be 10 chapters. We've already got 5 of the seats filled, and I'm in discussions with a few other ladies. And it's going to be things like how to deal with misogyny, how to be a leader instead of a manager, and how to find the right corporate ladder to climb, how to figure out what is your vibe, what is your tribe, what is the conditions under which you're going to work the best in terms of a corporate setting. So I'm really, really excited about that. And my chapter in there is actually going to be chapter 9, and it's going to be Know When to Pull the Ripcord. I did that at corporate after 10 years. So, I know when to pull the ripcord. And then Dr. Donna Bellinger is going to be writing chapter 10, and it's going to be You've left corporate to start your own thing. Now what?
Wow.
So we are still looking for executives or even past executives. They don't have to currently, they could have stepped out and started their own thing, but we're wanting them to share stories from their corporate days. And I was just chatting with a young lady earlier today who used to work for Nestle, and she had some fascinating stories. So I'm really hoping that she's going to come aboard. She's going to add a lot of value. So yes, if you're a lady executive and you feel you have a story to tell, I would certainly love to hear from you. I have another anthology that's supporting a nonprofit, Kids Deserve Dads. It's helping dads, maintain their standing and have the power to then say, I want to stay involved in my kids' lives, regardless of what, roadblocks the ex-wife or the baby mama throws in the way. And then the third anthology is, I can't pull the sheet off of it just yet because it is still under formation.
Oh, how juicy. And I love what you shared on the other ones. They sound like such helpful and powerful and empowering books as well. So if a listener is hearing this and they're thinking, oh, wow, I have an amazing story I would love to involve in, either the corporate book or the one that's more for the nonprofit for dads or, upcoming in the future, whenever you do reveal, what can they expect by that process? Say they want to partner with you and they want to get their story in the anthology. What is that going to look like for them through that experience?
Well, there's two paths that we're presenting. One is if you are an author and you want a seat at the table. The other is if you are a marketing professional or a coach where you just want to get 10 of your clients together and you're more like a JV partner. So the author route is you bring 8 to 9 other people to the table. Your seat is free and you get 10% of the upfront revenue. If you are a JV partner and you just bring 8 to 10 people to the table, then you get 20% of the upfront revenue. So it's like we want to pay people for bringing us business, obviously.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. And it sounds like such an exciting benefit as well, because many times in these anthologies, people invest, but then, it's kind of up in the air on what's going to happen afterward, right? And that sounds a lot more similar to what you might expect from an actual publishing experience, which is amazing. So let's just say that they're like, okay, that I want to be a part of that. I want to be involved. How can they connect with you and learn more about you and what you're doing in 2023?
I'm a bit old-fashioned. I like to give out my phone number. So just, drop me a text to 908-499-9298. Or you can drop me an email at Mindy at thescarlettcreativegroup.com. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. It's just Mindy Scarlett on LinkedIn. I kept it simple. And I always, have a conversation with anyone and give them pointers and, ideas and direction. And I'm always about finding what is the best solution for the person. It's not about what I'm trying to sell. And if I don't think I'm a solution, I'll say so.
Amazing. Yeah. And that's so valuable too, because I think just having that conversation and being available and letting people know, here's my best recommendation from my own experience, whether it's working with me or it's, a book or somebody else, or like you mentioned earlier with your client, Zach, who it was ready to go. And you were like, wait, hold on, let's get you in the right place first. I think that's so valuable. And I love that you do that. So for all my listeners, if you are loving what you're hearing and you would love to be a part of an anthology that doesn't just accomplish this dream of a book, but really helps you position yourself in your business and create those lasting business results that you're looking for by becoming a best-selling author, then definitely get with Mindy and check her out and have a conversation with her. I will include the details that she mentioned in the description for you guys. And Mindy, thank you so much again for joining me on the podcast.
You're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was amazing to have you. And for all my listeners, again, thank you also so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you leave a review wherever you're listening from. And I hope to see you on the next one.